Good day, Suidlanders, and welcome to the first of our videos from Russia. Today is Thursday, the 8th, I believe, of May, and I arrived in Russia this morning after quite a horrible trip up here. But that wasn't to do with the route so much as Emirates Airlines definitely weren't on top of their game. But eventually I got here and had a good nap, and in a short while I'll be going to meet one of our groups of hosts, very interesting people. I apologize for the sound quality, and I'm sorry that we haven't gotten on to doing proper videos again yet. But everything has been very difficult in the past couple of months, or over the past couple of months, as you know. Hopefully, by the time I get home to South Africa, my internet will be sorted out, and it'll be that much easier to upload big files to Arnold to edit them nicely. Let's get on with Russia. So far, so good. I'm in Moscow. I haven't seen much of it, but apparently where I landed was at the Domodedovo, famous Cold War airport, Domodedovo, very far from where I was staying. But I watched on the taxi man's phone's maps how we traveled. And if you go onto Google Earth and zoom in on Moscow, you'll see that there's a series of concentric rings around Moscow. That is Moscow. And we were within those concentric rings the whole time. So, as I say, I haven't seen much, but I had an hour and a half's drive in the taxi, and wow, it's an impressive place. I've never visited London. I visited New York. I was there once for 10 days on 3 or 4 occasions. I've been to Washington, D.C. on a couple of occasions. I've seen some of the big cities of the world, Frankfurt, Zagreb in Croatia, Berlin. I spent over a week in Berlin on Mr. Miller's instruction a couple of years ago. And I have to say that so far, this is the most impressive of all of those cities, all of the ones that I've seen. There is nothing wrong with it at all. It's clean, neat, tidy, well laid out, and the traffic is nothing like you find elsewhere. I'm staying in what's called a hotel. It's a little bit expensive for what the room is. It works out to about $80 a night, which is not in our budget. But hopefully we can fix that by moving out to a smaller town. And all around me are not hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands. You take into account all of the greater suburban area that this hotel finds itself in. Really, all it is an old communist block of flats, one set of rooms converted into a B&B, but surrounded by hundreds of thousands of poplar trees. It's very civilized, very nice, not fancy, but very, very pleasant. I don't know what they told you at school about Russia. Russia and the Soviet Union obviously not being one and the same thing. But whatever they told me at school about Russia certainly doesn't do it justice now. It might have done the Russian part of the Soviet Union and Moscow in particular justice in decades gone by, but in that case, things have changed very much. Today being the 8th of May, it is the eve of the celebrations of the victory of the Great Patriotic War. Russians today don't think of it as a struggle between communism and National Socialism, Nazism. It was at the time, but quite regardless of those ideologies, if that war had been fought between left of center socialists coming out of Germany or right of center socialists coming out of Russia, regardless, for them nowadays it was an existential conflict. They fought against an existential threat, a threat to the existence of Russia. And even those of us who are not great fans of Russia or Vladimir Putin must acknowledge, from all of the years of World War II documentaries that we've watched, that Hitler's goal was indeed to take a part of Russia and to break Russia up and, at the very least, leave it a rump state. That is to say, a portion of what it was, if not conquer it and subdue it altogether. So for Russians, it's not about communism or socialism or Joseph Stalin. It's about that time 80 years ago tomorrow, when the threat to the existence of Russia, Mother Russia, was defeated. And I must tell you that the government's propaganda is really quite marvelous. Everywhere you look, there are posters, banners, and giant, enormous signboards. I saw one that is bigger than any one that I've ever seen in the USA, and that is really saying something. All of them using the style of the day, which, by the way, was known as socialist realism, harking back to that style to promote tomorrow. It's a big day here. It's Russia's #1 day. The festivities, if the propaganda is anything to go by, promise to be really quite fantastic. And from what I gather, we're going to be able to watch the events from a preferential vantage point. Time will tell just how brilliant it really is, but we've been promised that we won't be disappointed. So we'll take lots of photographs and videos of that tomorrow, and it should be a very festive day. Even the television and the radio are all full of old war movies and not so old war movies and new war movies, and everybody's watching them, and everybody's moving about, everybody's scurrying home for tomorrow. And there'll be celebrations held in every city and town of Russia. It really is quite a marvelous thing, albeit for us, Western conservative Christians, a difficult one, because we think of the Soviet Union purely in communist terms, and we forget that for Russians, the Nazi invasion really was about the motherland and the greatest threat they'd ever faced. Perhaps until now. We'll be doing lots more videos and interviews and what have you, Marius and I, on what's happening in Ukraine and other related events. So it may be that Russia's toughest hour is yet to come. But for now, if Moscow is anything to go by, it is doing marvelously well, and it's in very, very high spirits. Thank you very much, everybody, for your support, your encouragement, your prayers, your messages sent to me, for getting me here so that I can broadcast our Suidlanders message even further to the world and build bridges for whatever they may be worth. We don't know yet, with the parties and peoples and nations and races and entities that we're going to have to deal with sooner or later in the times that lie ahead of us. Goodbye, and God bless all of you.